All right, welcome everyone. I think we're good to get started today. Thank you for joining us, Troy. I think we're going to kick off with Gabby doing the introduction slides, kind of introducing MassCEC and this presentation series in general, and then we'll kick it to you to start your presentation, and then we'll have a brief question and answer period afterwards. Gabby, feel free to kick it off.
Hi all, thank you for joining us virtually for a MassCEC CleanTech Spotlight webinar series presentation. To briefly cover some housekeeping items, all attendees are currently in listen-only mode. We'll start by quickly introducing the webinar series, then we'll introduce the guest speaker for today's webinar and let them present on their company and technology. Following the presentation, there will be roughly 15 minutes reserved for questions from the audience. If you have a question, please use the question submission feature and type it in as the presentation is happening and we can ask them on your behalf. Now to give a short introduction to MassCEC's work. MassCEC's Tech Dev program suite consists of 3 different grant programs: Catalyst, Amplify, and Innovate. Each of these programs target providing support to clean tech startups and researchers at different points in their technical and commercial development, from prototyping to demonstration with industrial partners. Today's presentation is a Catalyst grantee, Troy Billett, who will present on OffGridBox, the world's most powerful modular and compact unit. This unit provides affordable renewable energy and clean water in remote areas. The technology is a solution that will give 2 billion people worldwide clean water and energy. Thank you for joining us and please enjoy the presentation.
Hi everybody, this is Troy from OffGridBox. So I joined the team, two founders, and we've raised a couple million so far, and we've got some good contracts with the United Nations and a couple of other larger foundations. But it's really an exciting time, and like she said, what we do is we provide clean water and solar in really remote areas. But the key word is affordable, because when you get in these really rural areas, it's really tough to provide infrastructure. So we kind of created a clever way to provide this service. But like, how did we even get here? If you go to the next slide, we did custom installations for water and solar for quite a few years, but we saw that it would take forever to set up these water and solar systems, permanently on a building or inside of a building for the water systems. So we kind of just threw everything in a box one day and shipped it to South Africa, and it worked out really well because we had all the tools and everything we needed inside the box, and we didn't have to talk to the brothers, sisters, aunts, uncle to just get a screw that we were missing, So that's why we got it down to a 3-hour setup instead of a 3-week custom project. Because now everything's pre-assembled inside the shipping container, and basically we just have to throw the panels on top, have a little frame, of course, but the water system's already kind of plug and play. So we've done this quite a few times. Over 400,000 working hours. We have about 50 boxes out across the world, mainly in Africa, hard to reach communities. But we even have some, if you see the picture on the very right, that's actually Puerto Rico, where we deployed some right after the hurricanes and the disaster there. But the middle picture is our manufacturing facility where we're testing a bunch of the off-grid boxes right next to each other. But it's pretty cool because it's like scalable, right? You just drop another box if you need more solar. So like I said, we have already 38 boxes delivered, and it's even more than this because we just finished the 12 boxes with the UN. But these people aren't expecting these boxes tomorrow, right? So some of them pay upfront, or at least 55% upfront, so we can pay for the materials and assemble them. But then we have even more people who have committed to orders, but maybe the project isn't going to be deployed for another 6 months or 2 months. And so this is kind of the traction we have so far. So what is in the box? Right now we build boxes from 3 to 8 kilowatts, so these are pretty small. If you think about like our personal homes we have here in the US, probably could power one house and provide enough water for one house. But in these rural communities or for a school, it might be plenty, because in a lot of cases we're providing electricity for the first time. So they're just powering a couple of lights and a couple phones. We do have a freshwater or a desalination system, so we can actually take ocean water and turn it into drinkable, clean, purified water. All the boxes come with battery storage, and really it depends on how much solar you're getting, depending on the location, for how much storage we recommend. So it's kind of a case-by-case basis. Actually, people always ask, where does the water come from? Well, there's a lot of different ways, but basically we can hook up to any source of water. So rainwater capture, for example, is the solar panels act as kind of a catch, and then all the water drains into the box. But also if there's a well or a river or a stream close by, then we can hook up to that water source and purify it. Like I said, it only takes 3 hours to set up, and they're really, really durable. We had one set up in Madagascar at a hospital, and they knew a hurricane or a cyclone was coming, and so they just put the panels inside. It took maybe 30 minutes. They let the storm blow over, and they put the panels back on top another 30 minutes, and they were the only source of power and water on the whole island. So it's made to be, long-standing. I mean, you've got like a 20-year lifespan. It's really something appropriate for disaster-prone locations. But it's modular approach. So if they want to hook up an external generator or a Wi-Fi around the box, then we can have these different modules depending, because every community has different needs. So like I said, every community has different needs. So how has it been used? In a surprising amount of ways, but the main ones are key infrastructure. So we just set it up, and it's the source of water and power for a school or a house or even a resort in the middle of nowhere. The one that's gotten the most traction and that we're doing the United Nations project with is recharging stations. So we deploy a box in the middle of a village in East Africa, and we actually provide basic water and power for about 400 families. So each family will come to the box with the battery, they'll recharge their battery and get some water. They go back home, and then they can use that portable battery to power a few lights and charge a couple of phones. So when they come to recharge at the box, once or twice a week, we actually charge for that water and power services. So for nonprofits and agencies, it's actually a sustainable model to provide clean water and solar in the developing world, while still having the money to cover the associated costs with running the box on a day-to-day basis and providing those services to the villagers. And they're only paying 18 cents, so it's not extremely expensive. It's even less expensive than some of the grid in these locations, because the distribution cost is so high. So the last application that is really big for us is the disaster relief. So like we did in Puerto Rico, we also did one in Hawaii, Madagascar, in even the Philippines. So like I said, it was me, Emiliano, and Davide that really started a few years ago in Boston, but we've brought on some great people to the team. Andrea, with tons of experience and published articles, he really brings that technical expertise. And then Bas Behrens, who was a former diplomat, he was able to close the UN contract and build some of these higher level relationships that are really needed for us to secure some of that philanthropic funding. We have some advisors. It's a lot of this is due to the ecosystem in Boston, which MassCEC has been great for supporting, but we had Techstars in Boston that we participated in and Mass Challenge as well. And so we basically took the two most compelling mentors for us in those two programs, which is Warren Katz and Jim Miller, to help us kind of guide our strategy. How do we work with bigger agencies in order to deploy more and more boxes? Because really our goal at the end of the day is to deploy as many boxes as possible and help as many communities as possible. So you can see here, even MassCEC is on here. So we got a research grant from MassCEC, which is extremely helpful. We were able to build out the battery charging technology within our box so that we could serve 400 families at the same time. I mean, it's not easy to charge, 150 to 200 batteries at the same time and actually be efficient when you're a small off-grid system in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, some of the names you guys might recognize are logos. We also have, we're in Greentown Labs, and some of the bigger deployments or funders was like EEP Africa, the UN. It's actually the development program in Tanzania. So we're hoping to present to other development programs in every developing country. But it's always a struggle to find funding. But Con PR Metidos is the company we partner with in Puerto Rico. And yeah, it's just been an adventure finding funding. But if you have something that's really different and compelling, you can definitely secure some. So that's my main presentation, and I was really excited about potential questions because I know that it's kind of different and new technology. So if I can answer anything, I would really love to, and of course, just let me know.
Yeah, thank you. I think just to kick it off, one question I had was what the key technical barriers were that potentially the Catalyst grant or some of your other grants helped you kind of move past to make this a fully functioning deployable system. So you mentioned potentially technically altering some of the battery technology to allow for like multiple discharge outlets at once. Maybe you could go into that a bit more.
Yeah, so the majority of our grants were for actually deploying systems. So it was more like project financing rather than technology development. But we have received some research grants, including the Catalyst. And basically, we were trying to develop an algorithm which would make our system really efficient because there's not a lot of charging rack systems in the world. And so we were kind of pioneering this, and that's why we wanted to explore it more. And basically develop it more was unique to the off-grid box. So it can only be plugged into the off-grid box so that we can guarantee that customers will come back and use the service at our box instead of charging it at a third party or something like this, which helped us not only take a step further in what was possible in terms of the charging algorithm, but also ensure that we're maintaining our income streams to make the projects truly sustainable. So I know that's kind of a half technical, half business answer, but they're really tied closely together when we're trying to develop something that's truly sustainable in the developing world. Yeah, sure, batteries aren't new and solar panels aren't new, but in order to provide 40 watt hours to 400 different families can really be a struggle because you don't know when they're going to come in and start charging their battery, and you don't know what the variable sun radiance versus how much energy is in our big battery storage in the system versus how many batteries are being charged for the customers. So it's pretty complicated, and we kind of pride ourselves on the integration of a complex system in such a tiny little container.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah. Another question we had from one of the attendees is what maintenance looks like for these systems, if there are local players that aid in repairing them, if issues arise, or if your organization handles all of it.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the systems that are like charging stations, because those are the majority of our systems. We have 4 women shopkeepers that manage each box. So they'll be like cleaning the panels, wiping them down, but also changing any filters, the day-to-day maintenance stuff that might come up. And they get support from like 1 for every 10 boxes from somebody on a motorcycle that will drive on, and they're more like a technician. They have a little bit more expertise. But then per country, like we have a bunch of boxes in Rwanda and a bunch of boxes in Tanzania, we'll have like a country manager, which is actually an engineer who can do some more complex troubleshooting. But like I said, we have about 50 boxes out in the world now for the last 4 or 5 years. And the average maintenance cost has been about $400 a year, even with replacing batteries and panels and anything that might break. So we've really focused on keeping the maintenance costs low because it is in the middle of nowhere and logistics can be a struggle. So $400 a year for a $30,000 system is pretty compelling.
Got it. Thank you. Another question we have from an attendee is that you mentioned philanthropic partners. Do they fund the systems themselves, or is there a longer term business model that OffGridBox may be considering?
Yeah, so the business model is essentially we get a donor to contribute once, whether it's 1 box or 4 boxes, or 12 boxes, but we say, give us money once. We will set up these boxes and they will actually generate revenue, more revenue than it costs to maintain it. So any additional revenue beyond maintaining it and local salaries, we will put back in a revolving fund. So this revolving fund will go towards deploying more boxes in more villages. So it's kind of like they put money in once to make a great impact immediately, but then it kind of is self-sustaining over time, and 4 boxes will turn into 8 boxes, which will turn into a dozen. And this is really what's been compelling for philanthropic dollars, because they've never seen that before. They usually just see, we're going to donate 1 million water bottles, and it's great immediate relief, but like you're also polluting the planet. It's not necessarily a like sustainable philanthropic project. It's more like a temporary solution. So we saw this as a more long-term solution for reaching the 1 billion people in need for clean water and energy.
Okay, thank you. And then how do you determine where to put the boxes and select project sites?
Yeah, this is a difficult question because every day we have people reaching out to us, saying, oh, we need it here, or we need it in this community, and there's definitely way more places in the world that need a box than can get a box. But we try to focus area by area. So first we started in Rwanda, now we're spreading out more to East Africa, and hopefully we can start providing for West and South Africa, and even we have pilots in South America and the Pacific. But for now we're just trying to stay focused. So essentially we run surveys that we developed with MIT D-Lab, which is a group within MIT that focuses on rural development. And they helped us develop a survey in local languages in order to understand the needs and desires of local communities. So we can validate that not only are our boxes needed, but that our boxes wanted, because we don't want to come in and force people to use a service that they don't want. Like they all have to be on board. We have to get the permission of the local leaders and everything. So these surveys help us understand better what's going on, and before and after pictures, for impact reporting and this kind of thing. But the survey is really compelling because like what we learned, for example, we thought that after clean water and solar, we need to introduce Wi-Fi. Like that is the answer. We were so overconfident, but we actually ran a survey and like, what do you guys want next in this particular set of villages? And every single person, well, not every single, but like 90% of the interviewees that were current customers said, we want music, 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 music. And so instead of setting up Wi-Fi and spending a lot of money on setting up unique codes for every single villager, we just started selling small portable radios. And that made us like twice as profitable in a matter of days. So we were able to help more communities. So like just listening is really the key to deploying development projects. And I think it's key for any startup. You got to listen to your customers, and a lot of people kind of skip that step. It's easy to skip that step.
Definitely. I think those are the key questions that we have for now. We can certainly share your contact information with any interested attendees. And we will also
be. Slide actually has my contact info.
Great.
And if you're a startup, I'm happy to help. You know, I work also at a VC now, and I've been an angel investor before, so I'm happy to talk about funding, especially for clean tech companies. I know that it can be a little bit challenging of a road to navigate. My expertise is more on the sales and fundraising side of thing, but of course I have, you know, context on the technical side, and I'm happy to go over why each funder on our website gave. We have like a collaborators page, and you can see like the relationship we have with them, but I'm happy to like dive in more and understand and make introductions where appropriate.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for presenting today. We really appreciate it, and it was super interesting to learn about your technology and the work that OffGridBox is doing now. We will also be posting this webinar on our Twitter, or a recording of it, for anyone who potentially missed it and would like to see it. So yeah, thank you again, and please stay in touch.
Oh yeah, and also MassCEC was super helpful with the internship program. We're not doing it right now because we're building out the office in East Africa, but it was super valuable to us, and highly recommend that too.
Oh, great. Yeah, we always love to hear feedback on that program.
Great.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, have a great day.